Hey everyone, my name is Jonas Hagos. Today we will be discussing about the 12 principles of project management. According to PMI, there are 12 principles of project management, and we'll be discussing each of them and the advantage of knowing these principles to have a successful project. So in terms of the principles, the main thing is what's project? What is really a project? We have to be able to define what a project is before we go to the principles. A project, it's a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique and product, service, or result. So whenever you talk about project, it's really a unique, we need to create a unique product, service, or result. Projects have specific objectives. Whenever you work on a project, there should be a specific objective that you are planning to meet. It's also characterized by the defined beginning and end. When we talk about project lifecycle, it has initiation and ending. So a project is really characterized by by a defined beginning and end. It also has constraints. And the three constraints that we always know, we always use on a project is time, resource, and scope. So this is really what a project is. Whenever you apply for a PMI, for the PMP exam, you have to have projects with experience, which is really, which explains about a unique product, service, or result. And then the project needs to have the objective. You have to meet the objective of the project. And then it should have a beginning and end. If it doesn't have any end, that means it's going to be an operation. It's not a project. And then it has a constraint of the time, budget, and scope. So once we have the better understanding of a project, now let's talk about what are the principles. So what are the 12 principles of a project management? The first one is stewardship. And we have teams because we work with teams. We have stakeholders, value, system thinking, leadership, tailoring, quality, complexity, risk, adaptability and resiliency, and change. So these are the 12 princip principles of project management that we're going to go in depth and discuss about each of the characteristics of the principles. So to begin with, let's start with stewardship. Stewardship is really about integrity. The project manager needs to have integrity. The project manager needs to care about the team or the stakeholders. The project manager also needs to be trustworthy. This is very critical for a project to be successful. And the project manager needs to understand the compliance, and then the PM, he or she needs to make sure that the project complies with any state or federal regulations. So stewardship is really, as you can say, it's really about being a good person. A better PM means with integrity, care, trustworthiness, and compliance. Next is developing a good team spirit. As you all know, a PM is working with teams. It could be internal team, external team, which we call all of them stakeholders. So the PM needs to create a collaborative environment. The PM needs to make sure that the team have the support they need. And the project manager needs to show transparency with the team or with the entire stakeholder. PM also needs to provide or to give authority for the teams because so that they can be responsible, they can be accountable. So really, when you develop a great team spirit, you have to focus on creating a collaborative environment. There, you need to show some transparency, authority, accountability, and responsibility. When a team takes responsibility and accountability, they're going to help you as a PM to have a successful project. Next is engaging your stakeholders. Stakeholders influence projects' performance and outcomes. So you have to engage stakeholders from the beginning of the project throughout the project. So that means stakeholder engagement proactively advance value delivery. You have to be proactive when you talk about progress. You should, effective communication and regular updates are critical. You have to be able to effectively communicate with all the stakeholders. You have to regularly update the stakeholders about the progress, any challenge, any issues, and any success for that matter. So keep in mind that as a PM, and PMI requires that you have to engage that stakeholder at every stage and then do not decide some major things without informing the stakeholders, because at the end of the day they might come back to you and ask you why you made the decision without informing them. Next is focus on value. As we discussed earlier, a project will have a unique product or service. So in that case, project has an objective. So that a PM should always think about the value. You need to focus on the value and continually evaluate and adjust project alignment to the business objective and intended benefit and value. Any change which is coming when you start executing, it has to align with the value, the objective, and intended benefit of the project. Value is really the ultimate indicator of the project success. So when you say my project is successful, that means to the minimum it needs to you need to achieve the value that you set before you begin the project. And value can be realized throughout the project, at the end of the project, or after the project is complete. So for some projects, even you have to check the value after it's implemented. That's why we have warranties, guarantees. So it doesn't mean that you are done with the project and you don't care about the value. So the value can be realized throughout the project. And project team evaluates progress and adapt to maximize the expected value. So in this case, it's really about evaluating the progress. Because if there is any complexity, if there is any issue while you're executing the project, that might derail the value. So you have to be able to evaluate throughout the project. Next up, we have system thinking. Systems thinking is really you have to, recognize, evaluate, and respond throughout the project, because some systems can be complicated. You have a lot of interactions between components, and the PM needs to have a holistic understanding of the project. As a PM, you might not understand all the components, what's making up the project, but you have to be able to understand the holistic effect, positive or negative effect of all the components. So that's why really a project is a system of interdependent and interacting domains of activities. So as a PM, you need to understand what the effect of the one domain of activity to the other domain of activities. Because some of the team they might not understand, but as a PM, you are responsible to let them understand and to really have a holistic or systems thinking. And the systems are constantly changing. So that means it requires consistent attention to the internal and external conditions. Sometimes there will be some external conditions. Sometimes there will be internal conditions that affect the system. So in that case, the PM needs really to provide attention so that they can manage the project very well. And being responsive to the system interaction allows a project team to leverage positive outcomes. As you know, as a PM, you have to be proactive, not reactive. You can't wait until something happens. You have to be proactive. So whenever some change happens, you have to be proactive, at least to figure out what's going on, to try to solve it, to try to understand the root cause. Next up, my favorite one is effective leadership. As a PM, you are responsible to make the project be successful. And to do that, you need to have a leadership, effective leadership. So effective leadership promotes project success and contributes to positive project outcomes. It's up to you to help the team be excited, motivated, and really focus on the goal of the project. Any project team member can demonstrate leadership behavior because it doesn't have to be just you. You might find some project team that they can show the effective leadership skills, and then you have to help them, and you can delegate some tasks. But the main thing is, as a PM, you have to show effective leadership and servant leadership style. So the effective leaders adapt their style to the situation, adaptability. You know, when you're an effective leader, when there is some change or some situation, you have to be able to adjust your style to that situation. The other thing is effective leaders recognize difference in motivation among project team members. Sometimes you can't make one you have to recognize to be able, teams might have different motivations. Some teams might be motivated by money. Some teams might be motivated by taking off. Some teams might not be just really motivated. They're at the office just to do what they are supposed to do. So recognizing that will help you understand your team's motivation and the way to work with them. Leaders demonstrate desired behavior in areas of honesty, integrity, and ethical conduct. Especially for the PMP exam, you have to always focus on honesty, integrity, and ethical conduct. And on the real life, that's even more important because a PM or leader needs to show honesty, integrity, and ethical conduct to the team, stakeholder, and to themselves. Next up is tailoring. As its name indicates, and as you know, each project is unique. So project success is based on adapting to the unique context. When a project is different, the PM needs to understand, the team needs to understand that they have to tailor based on the context. Tailoring the approach is iterative because you might not just know by one time. So that means, therefore, it's a continuous process throughout the project. Next up is focus on quality. Quality is very important. We talk about time, budget, schedule, but the other thing is really quality. So quality can be measured by stakeholder satisfaction, or it could be based on compliance or efficiency or sustainability, especially on when you're doing a project, depending on type of the project, the stakeholder needs to be satisfied, or if they're not satisfied, there might be a problem, and the project need to comply with different regulatories. Efficiency is also critical. In addition to the efficiency, sustainability also. As a PM, you have to always think about sustainability when you design any project. Next up is navigating complexity. You have to continuously evaluate project complexity because sometimes the project is very, very complex. So unless you continuously evaluate it, it might derail your project objective. And for that matter, complexity is really a result of human behavior, system interaction, uncertainties, and ambiguity. So the PM needs to understand that the complexity might happen from different points. So in that case, once you understand this might happen, you can continuously evaluate the human behavior, the system interaction within the project, and there are some uncertainties or risk and ambiguities. So you have to clarify the ambiguity with the stakeholder and with the team so that you don't create a you don't create more complexity to the project. Next is we have to look up. As a PM, you have to look up for risks. You have to evaluate risk from the beginning of the project. You have to respond proactively. As we discussed earlier, you can't just say, oh, I'm going to fix it when it happens. No, you have to evaluate and you have to respond proactively. And the responding means it doesn't mean that you have to give a solution immediately, but at least you have to try to evaluate the risk and identify the risk throughout the life of the project. Because from the beginning of the project, you might have some risk that you have registered in the register form, but in the middle, some other risk might happen. You might lose some team members or stakeholders, or there might be some scope change or some external force, disaster. So you have to be able to be proactively evaluating risk throughout the project. Next is adaptability and resilience. Adaptability is the ability to respond to change. As a PM, you need to have adaptability skills. Resilience is the ability to absorb, impact, and recover quickly from setback and failure. Once something happens, do you have the ability to absorb the impact? Can you learn from your mistake and move on? That's the skill that you have as a PM. So to do that, continuous learning is critical. Things change, even as in our time, because COVID and cybersecurities and artificial intelligence, things are changing. So as a PM, by continuously learning and updating yourself, you can be adaptable and resilient. Also, working with the stakeholder closely is going to help you to be adaptable and resilient because when change happens, you have to inform the stakeholders. You have to explain what's happening to the stakeholders. But if you are working closely with the stakeholders, it's going to really help you. They're going to be supportive. So engaging the stakeholder, working with the stakeholder is important. The last one is changes around the corner all the time. From the beginning of the project, I have never had any project that never changed in the lifetime of the project. So really, as a PM, you have to always think about some change might happen. So be prepared for change. And the interesting part of it is the change could be internal or external. And implement an incremental change. And using a structured approach will help the team understand it easily. And if possible, do not really attempt too much change in short time because it might overwhelm the team or the stakeholders. And the other interesting fact is expect resistance. You can't expect everybody will be happy, even though if you believe that change is good for the project, you can't just expect everybody will be accepting it. That would be a wrong assumption. So expect some resistance and try to justify why that change could be beneficial to the project. So guys, thank you for listening. And next time we'll come up with other project management skills, especially for the PMI exam. And I appreciate your listening, and you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. As you can see from here, you can scan by the barcode for my LinkedIn profile. And yeah, let's connect, and thank you so much.